Now that we've discussed resources and how to integrate them into sessions with clients, let's take a look at how we can support the client in initiating change through the power of just one small step, or by doing one thing differently. One of the key beliefs of solution-focused therapy is that, as a general rule, people develop default problem patterns based on their individual experiences. In addition, people also develop default solution patterns in response to the problems they face. These patterns ultimately influence how an individual interprets, experiences, and copes with problems, whether small everyday ones or major life-altering ones. In essence, our default becomes the standard we apply to everything, not because it's effective, but because it's what we've always done. With this in mind, the concept of do one thing different acknowledges several important things for the client. Number one, that change is required to produce a different result. Number two, that change is possible. And number three, that the client already possesses the strengths and resources to create change. Once the client accepts these three ideals as being true, they are in the position to determine what one thing they can do differently would be within a given situation. This one different thing is then applied to the current default solution pattern, evaluated for effectiveness, and then continued or modified based on the new outcome achieved. Let's take a moment and put this concept into practice. To begin, think of a recurring problem or issue that you face. This doesn't have to be a major thing, just something that you find yourself addressing periodically. Examples could be running out of money before the end of the month, finding that Monday mornings are difficult to manage, etc. Next, look at what the elements are that make up your specific situation. Think about what happens both before and after. Do you overindulge in things on the weekend, which impacts quality of sleep and ultimately make Monday mornings more difficult? Or maybe you find it hard to start the workday without that $5 cup of Starbucks coffee, which, by the 20th of each month, has drained your available resources, requiring you to accrue credit card debt to maintain your daily schedule. These may apply to you, or you may be thinking of your own scenario. Whichever the case, now identify the parts that you can control that are influencing the outcome in a negative way. And then do one thing differently that could make the end result more positive for you. Maybe you limit the amount of consumption or the times when you consume. Maybe you decide that this activity needs to be replaced altogether with one that is healthier or without the unpleasant side effects. And looking at the money scenario, maybe you treat yourself to a Starbucks coffee on Fridays only and make your own coffee at home during the week. Or maybe you limit eating out in order to budget for the daily Starbucks treat before work. In most situations where we face challenges, it is possible to identify several points where one thing different is within our control and that will change the result for the better. So what can you do differently in response to an outcome you're wanting to change? Consider the following as examples of questions you may incorporate into sessions in an effort to emphasize this do one thing different concept. Think about the things you do in a problem situation and identify what is within your control. These questions may include: what is within your control in this situation, and what one thing could you leverage to produce a different result? Are there responses that could make things better? Are there responses that consistently make things worse? Which one of these responses can you try or eliminate? What have you said in the past that's been beneficial when dealing with this? Is there one thing that's worked previously that you could do now? Is there someone you know that is successful in managing this issue? What are things you notice they do differently than you? How can you incorporate one new skill set into the situation that you see others benefiting from? Is there a time when this problem is harder to manage? Is there a better time to try and address this issue? Identify one thing that can be changed based on the time and place that this issue occurs for you. Now, stay tuned for the next section, where we will take a look at the technique of compliments and reinforcing the positive with our clients.